Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's up, everybody? How we doing? Welcome to the final preseason installment of the Block, the Shot, the Stop, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, where we discuss the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tim Daniel here with Skylar Webker. And Skylar, we are finally at the end of preseason basketball as the Cleveland Cavaliers suffer a 139-137 loss in overtime to the Chicago Bulls tonight at the United Center. It was a game where the starters played basically all four quarters, and then in overtime, both coaches emptied out the benches for OT, which was the funniest thing of all time. But at the end of the day, the Bulls do get the victory over the Cavs. The Cavs go winless in the preseason, and that brings us to where we are now. So let's talk about some takeaways from this game. Positives first, obviously. Core four, really, really good yet again. I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot through the season. But Jared Allen, again, I think Jared Allen was the best player throughout the preseason for this team.
For sure.
Was absolutely awesome. Mobley facilitating the offense as like an attacker and putting the ball on the floor and hitting the rim and these crazy passes. Loved it. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell doing big things. Dean Wade playing the Max Strus role tonight. Played really well. Sam Merrill came back tonight. Hit some big shots, especially a couple transition threes. So there's a lot of good to talk about to start the show here.
Yeah, I mean, we came into this game kind of thinking they were going to nobody start, take it easy. And that's not what we got at all. We got the starters running 30. I think they tapped out at 32 minutes for all of the starters. That's not something that we kind of expected out of the last preseason game.
Yeah. I actually, as a matter of fact, when I was on with Kevin the other night, I fully suspected that they were going to sit out tonight. I had no idea they were going to ramp it up. But I'm glad they did because it made tonight a far more enjoyable podcast to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I loved seeing Darius Garland really being the Darius Garland that we expect to see. After a rough year last year with a jaw injury and kind of some personal stuff going on, it was really good to see him facilitating the offense, hitting his shots. I think he was 5 for 10 on 3-point shots tonight. So it was really great to see Darius Garland being Darius Garland.
Yeah, he had 23 points and 5 assists tonight. So he was awesome. Mitchell, I know, didn't shoot the ball really well. Was 8 of 21 from the floor, but was really aggressive and gave the Donovan Mitchell you love to see. Had a couple huge shots. That 3 hit in the fourth, with like right under 4 minutes ago, was insane. Just a kind of your typical Donovan Mitchell shot you expect to see him make. But I thought that even though he didn't shoot the ball well, I thought he did enough to kind of put his imprint on this game, and that was really nice to see.
Yeah, I think you're just gonna have those nights. I mean, 2 of 9 from 3-pointer or from 3 for Donovan Mitchell. You're not gonna expect that throughout the season. So I just an off night, but yeah, still had enough impact in other areas of the floor. Came away with 2 steals, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Just helping out wherever he could. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, of course, the big man again, our guy, Evan Mobley, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists tonight. Did shoot 4 of 11 from 3. Struggled from the free throw line, but 3 blocks. And was in fantasy points range was a 44-pointer tonight. So wow. You take those. But I was really happy with the shots he was taking. Those are shots that when he's in rhythm, he's going to hit. And so I was really impressed with the fact that he was able to, not even just in transition. I thought he looked great in transition, but even in the half court. I thought he did really well with a lot of the shots he took. I think that he's going to have, I've been saying it all along, I think he's going to have an all-star caliber season. I do think he's going to be really, really good.
And if that's the case, this Cavs team is so
everything's different.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me, especially in the first half, was the ball movement that we saw with this offense that generated a lot of, especially wide open threes. Not all the threes fell, but the offense is creating these opportunities for these guys. That's something that is kind of refreshing to see.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they took 53 threes tonight. So, yeah, which I guess is not really a lot in the modern NBA, but it sounds like a lot. They did win the points off turnover battle tonight, so that's nice. There was a 22-19 advantage there. And on the fast break, they had 30 fast break points tonight. So in the preseason, the top two teams, again, this is preseason, I know what we're saying here, and pace of play were the two teams that we're covering tonight, the Bulls and the Cavaliers. So
yeah,
that was the exact track meet that the statistics said it was going to be going into tonight, and it was a lot of fun. So on the other end, of course, they do lose. They go 0-4 in the preseason. But I'll tell you what, I don't care. I'm not worried. It's not a big deal to me. I think this is a team that's going to win 50 games. I feel like this is a team that's really talented, and they're just too good to struggle. And it might take them a little bit to get going. The start of the year, they have a pretty rough schedule after the Toronto game, the season opener. But I still really like where the direction this team's going, and I really think they're going to be awesome.
I agree. And the strength of schedule does hinder the start of the season. You can't start too slow, especially with 3 weekends of back-to-back games coming out the gate. It's going to test your endurance early.
Yeah. Oof, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble on those. A lot of late nights on those. Yeah, man, I think that's going to be something that's going to jump out, and I think they're good. But I feel good about where the offense is at. I know that they gave up 139 points in overtime, and people are going to be like, that's a lot of points. It is. But I think they're going to be locked in pretty close to defensively. I think you and I have kind of talked about this in the past, maybe not on air, where we do see the defense is potentially going to take a step back, but we don't think it's going to be bad. It might not be what it was the last couple of years, but I still think that they're going to be able to defend people and they're going to be able to guard everybody. And if you talk about the defensive side tonight, some of the things I really want to point out, how about Georges Niang and Sam Merrill both taking charges tonight? Well, Sam's was called a block, but it was definitely a charge.
It was absolutely a charge.
Yeah, so it was absolutely a charge. So I like that. I liked it a lot. Jalen Tyson, big minutes tonight. Looked good.
A lot of big minutes. Is that I'm wondering if that's a precursor. We've talked about who's that that 9th, 10th, 11th guy on this roster. Seeing Tyson out there early and even down the stretch in that fourth quarter, is that a hint at something? Is Kenny Atkinson kind of playing with that idea of maybe this guy's not going to be doing as much G League time as we expected?
I don't know if they can afford for him to play G League time because I think he's going to be too good.
I love that.
I realistically think that. I don't know if I would call him a steal in the draft at the moment, but I do think he is a good enough basketball player to stick in the NBA for a long time. And I think that he's going to be a really, really nice fit with this team. I think there's going to be a lot that he's going to bring to the table. He's just one of those guys that I might have already said this on the show. He's one of those guys that is not great at any particular thing, but is pretty good at like just about everything, and he can keep you in a game. So I'm pumped, man. I'm really pumped for Jalen Tyson. Also, he wears 24. Big fan of that number.
Big Kobe fan?
Griffey.
Griffey too, yeah.
Kobe. You don't listen to my podcast at all, do you, Skylar?
Well, I just figured we're an NBA podcast. So
yeah. I do love Kobe. I just think that he is the conversation of him being a top 3 player of all time is hilarious to me. But that is for another show at another time.
That's for NBA happy hour.
Yeah, right. Listen to me over there to get those hot takes. So what about this game tonight jumps out to you? Again, I know it's the last preseason game. We're sick of well, this guy did this and what all, but what else jumped out to you tonight that you really liked?
So I'm actually going to flip it to the other side of the court it was really good to see Lonzo Ball back on the court.
Yeah.
2 years away with a, what was it, cartilage transplant?
Never even heard of that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I thought it was fake when they reported it.
So it was good to see him back on the floor. It wasn't his greatest night, but it's still good to see him make his way back. And Colby White is good.
Oh, he's a G, man. He's legit.
I think if the Bulls have the season that everybody's kind of expecting out of them, that might be a name to watch in the trade deadline. But we'll see. So those were two guys on the other side of the ball that stood out. I did kind of touched on kind of getting that Darius Garland energy back. And that felt really, really refreshing to see. I think that is something that was very missing out of last year's team, especially after the jaw injury and kind of getting that wired shut. I think it was just really refreshing to see the all-star version of Darius Garland that we intend to see this year.
Should we focus more on that? I feel like we didn't talk about it enough.
Sure.
All right. So we listed the stat line, and the stat line looks really good. 23 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 8 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 10 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, 1 steal. Did have a couple turnovers, but I can live with that. Was awesome. Was all over the place on offense, was attacking the rim, was shooting from deep, was aggressive, was getting into the paint, was finding open shots for other players. You mentioned it just now. You said that when they get this Darius Garland, then everything just kind of comes together for this team. And that was what they, no disrespect to JB, a lesser offensive coach. And so now you have this offensive guru coaching Darius Garland, who is like, dude, play with your hair on fire again and make things happen for us. And we're getting glimpses of it now, and it's awesome. It's so nice to see.
Yeah, it's great to see. Having an all-star caliber level of Darius Garland, that changes this team, along with hopefully an all-star level year out of Evan Mobley, because Jared Allen's going to be in the all-star conversation. Donovan Mitchell's going to be in the all-star conversation. If the other two can make their way in there also, look out. I mean, I think that's better than Boston's starting.
Whoa. Oh, Skylar, go with the hot take. That's when I learned how to do social media clips, I'm cutting that. That's going to be the clip for this episode. Get all the Bostonians mad at us.
4 all-stars in your starting rotation. I think that's weighs more than your tandem of Brown and I'm skipping my name.
Tatum.
Yeah. Jeez.
I mean, I know what you're saying, and I'm loving it. But those guys did just have 3 people win a gold medal. Drew Holiday's pretty awesome.
That's true. Drew Holiday is pretty good.
Yeah. I hate to say it because I hate the Celtics with all of my well-being, but he is tremendous. So I like it. I like the hot takes. I think that's going to be the Eastern Conference Finals, which we'll talk about that on Monday when we do our prediction show. But I do think that when those 4 play like they have through the preseason games they've all been together, this team's going to be nearly impossible to beat in the regular season. The 48.5 win total, I think, is crazy that it's that low. I think that's easy money. I think they're for sure a 50-win team.
Everybody get your bets in.
Yeah, as long as they're healthy, I should say. I think they're a 50-win team. And I just can't imagine they're going to have the same bad luck of health that they had last year, 2 years in a row. I hope not, obviously, or it's going to be a really long year for us. But I really do think that this team is just going to be way too good to struggle really bad. They're going to have losing streaks because it's the NBA. But I don't think we're going to be talking about this team with like a 7-game losing streak at any point during the year.
I hope not. The other thing that really stood out to me was going back to Evan Mobley. 8 assists, 0 turnovers.
Yeah. You heard the thing about him that it was been, I don't know. I might actually be the president of the Evan Mobley fan club at this point.
Founding member.
Yeah, Probably, realistically. I'll never forget that draft. I was like, I knew Cade was going 1, but I was begging for the Rockets not to take Mobley. And then like the more stuff was coming out, it sounded like they weren't, and I was feeling very, very good about it. I didn't grow up a diehard Cavs fan, but they were a team I always kept my eyes on. And then, like I said, like once I went to the Q, I fell in love with the team and just became a huge fan. I know it's Rocket Mortgage now, but it'll always be the Q to me. So, yeah, now they're my squad because of that. But so I was like, please don't draft Evan Mobley, Houston. I want him to go to Cleveland because he's the perfect fit for them. And we're starting to see that perfect puzzle piece come into play. The 8 assists. It's not the fact that he was just getting the passes, the way that he was creating for other people to get shots, the way he was making shots for other people. I mentioned, so he hit Sam Merrill for that 3. And then I think it was Ty Jerome. He's like, does that play in the second quarter where he gets to the paint and he has a wraparound pass around whoever the Bulls big was. I don't think it was Jalen Smith at the moment, where Ty Jerome's sitting by himself for the 3 and he knocks it down. And it was fantastic. This whole new role for him in transition where he is the trailer, I think is absolutely perfect for him. And you saw that tonight. He had a couple of huge plays in that role. This is going to be, everyone's talking about how he needs to become this like all out shooter. And yeah, I would like to see him shoot more, but no one's talking about what if he becomes a super playmaker, because if that happens, you may not even really put too much stress on him as a shooter at that point.
I mean, that changes how anybody defends this team because he's getting constantly double teamed in the paint. Now, if he can become a playmaker and find that open man, defenses can't, allow that open man, but they can't not double team. It'll become a pick your poison type of defense against him. And your point about using Mobley as the trailer and these playmaking abilities that he's shown tonight. Another standout play was Jared Allen jumping in a passing lane to get a fast break dunk. That's not stuff we saw under JB. And this is not a shading JB. JB was a great coach for this team. He really got us to where we are. But that's stuff that we weren't seeing. And with Kenny Atkinson taking the helm, I hope we see more stuff like that.
Yeah, I talked about this on the last episode after the Pistons game. I love a team that can run a really good high-low offense, and those two run a just about perfect high-low offense. Where if you're the defender in the middle of those guys and you have to make a decision, do I trail back to get Allen to make sure he doesn't get a dunk, or do I attack Mobley to make sure he doesn't get a mid-range jumper? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so you kind of saw that tonight. Mobley, the shots that he was getting to Allen for just kind of those quick passes, get him dunks. It was awesome, man. Obviously we know whatever they get out of those 4 guys is going to determine what they do this season. So for us, I know it's going to be a lot of, oh man, Evan Mobley was awesome tonight. Oh man, Darius Garland was awesome tonight. And I'm excited for that. So it's just finding the extra guys. It's who's going to step up and be those next few guys. And I think tonight we got a little bit of glimpse of that. We talked about Jalen Tyson already. We talked about Dean Wade. Ty Jerome tonight didn't shoot a lot. Was in for 12 minutes. Nice to see him playing basketball again. I think at this point, that's a win. Wasn't Karras' best night, shooting 3 of 10, but 5 assists. I mean, with the way that they shared the ball, really, really like that a lot. And then he just, and then of course, like we talked about Sam Merrill coming back, having 7 shots, played 17 minutes. For sure, should have got a charge call and did not. But I'm starting to think that I think there's going to be some tough decisions on the situation of, obviously, because they start a month before the charge due. So the two-way guys are going to be on the main roster. I don't think they'll play much. But I don't know at this point if Bernard's probably the odd man out, but he had a decent preseason. I think he's a guy that you could probably see if you can send to Canton. And not Canton anymore.
Yeah, it's now they moved him back up to Cleveland.
The Mad Ants did that too, where they actually play at the Pacers Arena, and it really confuses me because I always want to say Fort Wayne.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, nope, that's not right. But if there's a way they can keep Jules Bernard in the system, that's probably a win as well. I don't think he's been like, wow, oh my God. But I think he's done enough to kind of be on the team. So I know they went 0-4, but I think there's a lot of good to take away from this preseason.
Yeah, there's tons of good. And I think that's kind of the good thing about preseason is we get to see these guys that we probably won't get to see very much of, unless we're specifically watching Charge games, which we will throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
But
I love G League basketball. Not even gonna lie, love it.
It's some of the hungriest players trying to get their way into the league. So it's great. It's great competition.
Yeah, man. It's super underrated basketball. And you can go for like the cheapest. You can go for cheaper than a high school game. And it's not me insulting it. It's legitimate. Like you can see really good basketball for a very low price. I've been lucky enough to be able to work a couple G League games, and it's a great experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. It's super fun. But
man, should have went to Charge games while they're still here in Canton.
Yeah, now you got to get the Wolfstein Center at Cleveland State now.
Yeah.
Cleveland State, Norris Cole. Shout out Norris Cole.
So let's get into some of the. We've gotten into the good of this game. Let's see what some of the bad, I guess. And you can't say bad really because it's a preseason game,
right?
These
opportunities for improvement.
There we go.
Yeah, we're gonna treat this like an HR meeting.
Well, don't tell HR. We already had Joe in the comments, so maybe we'll leave HR out of here.
Yeah, that was funny. He asked how Craig Elo looked. You can't talk about Craig Elo on a Cavs show about a game when they played the Bulls. All right, that's rule number one. So unless you follow up with Ron Harper conversation.
So as far as for improvement, I think that there were a lot of defensive breakdowns especially around the perimeter that gave the Bulls a lot of open threes. So that's something I would like to see cleaned up a little more. That really hurt us kind of in the second half, coming out of the second half, really.
Yeah, for sure. The Bulls got really hot to start the third quarter. I feel like the fact that the Bulls were so balanced in their scoring, when they spread out the defense, there were some things there that you can kind of see are going to just take a few weeks to kind of get in that rhythm. And that's just kind of part of just getting your feet underneath you, because you have a week of training camp for preseason games and you don't practice a whole lot in the NBA. But I mean, if you look at the Bulls box score, not only did all their starters have double digits, they all shot well. The worst was Kobe White at 5 of 14. Patrick Williams went 4 of 8. Vooch went 8 of 16. Vooch had a double-double. Levine 7 of 14. Donsumu 7 of 11, who, by the way, is extremely underrated. I covered the Bulls last year for Untapped Sportsnet, so I watched a lot of Bulls last year. I'm telling you, he's good. They're not going to be good, but they're not going to be able to draft Cooper Flagg. They're too good for Cooper Flagg. So, but this is the Cavs show, so I digress. Yeah, there was a lot of breakdowns there, and then you lose by 2 and you miss 9 free throws. That's kind of tough. Yeah. You still shot well from the free throw line. You were 76% as a team, and then just getting beat by 8 on defensive rebounds, just not able to get second chance points. It was a tough. Those were kind of the tough things.
Yeah, I mean, we won the turnover battle, so that's something that we've kind of touched on in these earlier games, and a lot of it had to do with that second half, because when we went to halftime, we were nearly 50% field goal, 40% 3-point, and about 70% on free throw. So by the end of the game, we ended at 43% on field goal, 32% from 3, and 76% on free throw. So kind of took an offensive dip there in that second half.
Yeah, I kind of expected that because they were on fire in the first half, and law of averages has to kick in at some point. But yeah, man, like we said, I think they're fine. I'm not worried about a winless preseason. I'm happy the starters played well and are healthy, except for Strus. But I can't. It doesn't sound like it's super serious.
Nah, nothing that I've read.
Though I thought we'd have seen him back by now. We won't lie. But I'm sure that they got 5 days for the Raptors game.
Yeah, it's a long season. Might as well not rush anything.
Especially
don't rush a guy back.
Matter.
Exactly. Don't rush a guy back for a preseason game because he'll still get his shots up through the year.
Yeah, I'm a big Max Strus guy. So I am. He's a Big East kid. I love my Big East guys. So
this team seems to do real well or find good undrafted talent. Craig Porter, Dean Wade. I know we traded for Max Strus, but Max Strus is another undrafted guy.
It was a sign and trade. It's different. Yeah, it's different. There was intent.
I don't think Sam Merrill was drafted, was he?
I don't think he was. This is where I need Sydney. Sydney is like on my other shows, and she kind of is like my Stump the Schwab. Let's just pull up the old basketball reference real quick. But I remember really liking Sam Merrill in his draft coming out of Utah State, and thought he was going to get. Actually, he was drafted. He was the final pick of the 2020 NBA draft by the New Orleans Pelicans, and won the NBA championship in 2021 as a member of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Crazy.
He only played 30 games, but he got a ring.
Hey, that's all that matters.
He's the Jordan McRae of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Jesus. These are such deep cuts.
It's not an insult, though. Sam McRae is definitely a far better player than Jordan McRae was. I mean, Sam Merrill's
Sam Merrill? You're already getting it wrong.
I'm not even drinking tonight.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about a winless preseason. I'm excited for what we'll see when the games start to matter. I do hope that they get off to somewhat of a good start. Just with that strength of schedule. If you can knock out a few wins in the hard parts, makes the easier parts a little less heavy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. But hey, I just want to make sure we get something out there before we leave for this one. Monday, check us out. We will be doing our season preview show before the game on Wednesday. Where we're going to kind of dive in and give some of our thoughts on the year coming up. I've got a bunch of really fun Cavaliers prop bets you can make for the year, whether it's individual players or team stuff you can look into. I'm gonna list off. I think Skylar and Kevin are also each coming up with a segment they're going to bring to the table. So I'm excited to see what you guys bring there as well. But we will be live for that. So come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. Check us out on all our socials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel here, The Block the Shot to Stop. We are on Twitter at The Block to Stop, on Instagram at The Block to Stop the Shop. We're on Facebook, and check out bsspod.com. I just got to make some like giant banner with all this stuff. That's what I got to do. So because I'm not very good at reading stuff like that very quickly. But we're excited. Yeah, we're excited. It's a fun time. We're so happy it's here. It's going to be a great year. Cavs fans, you're going to love this team. We're going to love this team. And hopefully you're with us here for the long haul. So on behalf of Skylar Webker, this is Tim Daniel. Thank you all for hanging out with us and standing with us through the preseason. The real thing is what matters now, and it's right around the corner. So we will see you all on Monday for the season preview show.
Go Cavs.